In 1938, three men walked out of Lahore toward a blank horizon, across ice-cut passes, forgotten stairways, and silent mountain rituals. What they found beyond the last road was beauty, danger, and a world almost no one had seen.
Hey, glad you're here. Welcome to the Himalayan Journals. Here on this channel, we bring to you real stories from century old field notes. We try to keep it simple and calm here. Think of it as a documented history of the Himalayas from the early 1900s, covering stories of indigenous wisdom, epic expeditions, and groundbreaking science passed on just as they were recorded. Subscribe, zone out, binge.
In June 1938, Rex Cardew set out from Lahore with two companions for a month's journey into the high valleys of Lahul. The plan was simple: to travel north through Kulu and on to Keylong, exploring the Himalayas as far as time and strength would allow. To get into shape, they began with a brief climb across the Dhauladhar range, from Dharamsala to the Indrahar Pass. They camped at Ladakh Ghat, about 10,000 feet high, in small bivouac tents, and hired two local men who knew the route. At 5:30 in the morning, they began their ascent, following a long snowbed, then crossing it again and again as the slopes grew steeper. On a rocky pitch, Cardew gashed his shin on a sharp rock, cutting open a vein. Snow wrapped in a handkerchief stopped the bleeding, and they pressed on, reaching the summit 14,500 feet at noon. The view, he wrote, was magnificent. Below them stretched the Kangra Valley, and above, endless ridges of rock and snow. A group of shepherds they had passed earlier now appeared again, their flocks winding steadily up across the snow. After resting a while, the party descended swiftly, reaching camp by late afternoon, tired but content. After this detour, they moved on toward Lahul. From Manali, 8,000 feet up the Kulu Valley, they followed the road to Rahla, a small rest house 10 miles ahead. Near Kothi, they crossed the Beas River, where it runs through a deep, narrow gorge, 100 feet down and barely 20 feet wide. Beyond Rahla, the climb to the Rotang Pass began, rising over the famous 1,000 steps, great slabs of stone carved long ago by some unknown devotee. The ponies took a gentler track, but the men climbed the stairway step after heavy step. Above the pastures, they reached snowfields and rocky spurs until at last the road leveled out across the pass. The Rotang, at 13,800 feet, was almost bare of snow that June. Near its crest, under a rock almost buried in ice, they found the tiny spring that forms the Ricky Bays. Tradition demanded that each traveler place a stone by the cairn there, a silent prayer for safe passage. On the descent, they were drenched by a waterfall before reaching Koksar, a village and rest house at 10,000 feet. From there, they followed the Chandra River down its north bank toward the Bhaga. Along the way stood the hamlets of Suru and Gondla, each about 8 miles apart, their rest houses shaded and quiet. Gondla itself was marked by a striking Buddhist gompa, with a square tower sloping like an ancient fortress. At last, they reached the junction of the Chandra and Bhaga, a sacred confluence where the two rivers form the upper Chenab. They camped nearby, and in the chill hours before dawn were woken by drums and strange chanting. Looking out, they saw mourners dancing around a fire, committing a friend's ashes to the swift river below. From there, the road followed the Bhaga toward Keylong, through fields scattered with chortens and long stone mani walls. The prayer wheels humming softly in the wind. They arrived as the Lama festival began, the monks performing their dance in the monastery courtyard, while visitors drank the local brew on the terrace above. 2 policemen watched discreetly to keep order as merriment grew and the paths home became uncertain. Kardu noted the Lahulis as an honest and gentle people of Hindu, Muslim, and Buddhist faiths, living side by side in peace. Their houses were never locked. The women wore bright dresses and small round plates of gold or silver on their heads like halos, and the men wore flower-decked cloth caps. The Thakur of the valley invited them to lunch, where they sat cross-legged before little lacquer tables, eating from Tibetan bowls. Later, they met his wife, adorned in full ceremonial dress and a remarkable headdress. The palace, like every home in Lahul, was built to endure long winters, with thick walls, inner rooms for warmth, and cattle stabled below. Snow cut off movement for months, and the people took turns, half descending to the plains for winter, the rest staying behind. In July and August that same year, Kardu made another journey, this time into Ladakh. From Keylong, he traveled by way of Dras to Kargil, and from there explored the lesser-known route through the Suru Valley and over the Umbala. At Kargil, he climbed the Lahul, 10 miles east, to see across the Indus to the distant peaks of the Karakoram, and turned back reluctantly. On the way back, he passed the village of Sanko, struck days earlier by a mud avalanche during a thunderstorm. Fields and homes had been destroyed, and he promised to report the disaster to the authorities, though he never learned if help came. From Sanko, he crossed the Umbala, 14,500 feet, bare of snow and water, under the summer sun. From its top, he looked out across the Zanskar range, the peaks of Nun and Kun just visible. In the valley below, he camped at Lobar, where wild rhubarb grew among the grass and marmots whistled across the slopes. Farther down, in the valleys above Dras, the gentians were in full bloom, and near the post office stood a tiny meteorological station, one of the highest in the world, its readings sent daily by telegraph to Srinagar. Before the journey ended, he climbed once more above Sarabal to glimpse Kolahoy Peak, but the clouds rolled in too soon. From all of it, Kardu wrote, a traveler could see how much beauty lay beyond the main roads, even for those who were not mountaineers at all.